Lost Ark is amazing. A 10 out of 10. Well, almost a 10 out of 10. You see, Lost Ark has one giant problem. Berserkers. A berserker is nothing more than your common everyday warrior or barbarian big sword swinging type of macho man type of class. Essentially failed paladins who couldn't finish kindergarten because of severe cognitive disabilities. Playing a fantasy game but limiting yourself to only swinging a two-hand sword should be classified as a mental illness. These are the people who take 2 hours in the character creation screen to create the perfect self-insert, yet in the game they won't even take their helmets off. A berserker is nothing more than a power trip fantasy. And the biggest problem, there's always a lot of them. And the developers are forced to account for players like this. Every ability needs to be a giant AoE that hits half the screen and does not require targeting, and they still miss half of the time. That's why bosses have mechanics that teleport them on top of players. Don't give them something inherent to boost movement speed and attack speed, they will never stop complaining about the game being too slow. Berserkers cried so hard they got granted Mayhem. Hands down the most overpowered, overtuned buff in the whole game by a landslide. It's like having level 3 spirit absorption and grudge at the same time. But wait, there's obviously more. Mayhem reduces your maximum HP by 75% and lowers the damage that you take by 65%. Since berserkers can't dodge attacks and are almost always dead, why not make it into a game mechanic? And this gives berserkers even more benefits. Engravings like Master Tenancy and Raid Captain are always captain at full value. Course Doll has no negative effects any longer. And these are some of the best engravings in the game. But because you're a berserker, they no longer have any downsides or risks attached to them. And since your HP is capped at 25%, that means that any quality potion will 100% heal you under any circumstances. That is the equivalent of any other class having 2.3 times more usable potions in a raid. Talk about training wheels. Also, berserkers have only one type of spec that requires crit and swiftness, so they only need one set of gear. A berserker once asked me why my shadow hunter has locked jewelry. A 1370 gear score berserker took 5 minutes to figure out that we're on a different map than him. We told him multiple times and he kept asking which channel are we in. Here you can see 2 berserkers who have absolutely no idea about a single mechanic, and they're just hoping that someone will carry them. In this event, all of us went for the closest boss possible, except for the berserker, who for some reason decided to run in the opposite direction and go solo against the Guardian. Keep in mind, in this special event the Guardians are nerfed. They are 2 times slower to perform any action, and they deal 2 times less damage. In the 2 minutes it took us to deal with the first boss, he used 2 healing potions. And that's against Urnil, the very first Guardian you get to fight, aka the tutorial. He had a gear score of 1400, an absolute credit card warrior. Berserkers are disgustingly overpowered and overtuned. But they will never be nerfed, because the people who play berserkers are rivaling toasters in IQ. Have you ever seen a berserker get MVP? Neither have I. It's really hard to go lower than a berserker, but if anyone's gonna go lower than a berserker, it's gonna be a berserker.